just have to watch on my phone.
That might fuck with the audio.
I'd go audioless, I think.
No, but what I mean is you would be behind.
Uh,
So you might be like
uh,
10 seconds behind Reese, so Reese would obviously see everything before you do. So you'd be like replay man.
I was just like our game earlier in the season, Tom, wasn't it, anyway, so that's fine.
I was going to make that joke. You beat me to it.
I didn't prepare any other jokes, so I had to go on the fly.
No jokes.
Right, well, I've got
please.
some
Oh,
from Wikipedia.
Not this shit again.
Chris needs to hurry up.
Huh?
Oh.
What do I need to do?
Did you hear that?
Yes.
So your stream does play and there's no volume button. How am I going to do this?
Just turn your volume down on your...
No, if I turn my volume down on my phone, then I can't hear you.
Oh yeah, right enough. Ah, fucking no idea.
I'm going to have to do the same as last night and just be in the basement.
Right, I'm gonna disappear. I shall see you after the game. I'll just jump back in the... I'm just gonna turn my headset off, so I'll just jump on after the game's done. Right.
No worries, mate. Best of luck.
Yeah, cheers, thanks.
It's so weird being on Chris's stream now because I've got no idea if anyone's already in or even if the Out of Hours Madden Twitch is already up.
I've had to move downstairs because of a technical hitch.
Did your new Surface Pro crash if it gets too high above sea level?
Oh, mate. I'm hoping that I'll just go back in about an hour and it'll be fixed magically. Otherwise, how do you get a laptop fixed in lockdown after?
That's a very good question. Touch wood, I haven't had to deal with that yet. I'm on a work laptop, same as you, so it'd be some guy remotely patching in from Denmark, I guess, assuming you can get the laptop on in the first place.
We don't have anybody like that. I've basically just bought it from a shop. Curry's, I'll have to buy another one.
What is it? December the 5th, isn't it? Your part of the world is locked down till?
I've no idea, mate. I've been locked down since February.
Ah, right, yeah, working from home and all that sort of stuff. Only because technically in Wales you come out on the 9th of November, but...
So I could drive across the border.
Yeah, you could outrun Welsh coppers, you'd be fine.
Big game, this.
It is. It's been really interesting doing the research for it. Actually, I think stats-wise and looking at both of them have been in terms of the league. It's two good teams.
Come on then. What's the most interesting thing you found in your research?
Oh, it's interesting. Okay, so on the Texans side, it's just there's a lot of efficiency with the receivers. So in the passing game, they were the 19th at the best passing attacking 200 yards per game in the league. It's now dropped on the 21st now for Daddy League's updated. What I really like is the spread of targets and the efficiency. So you've got Coulter, who's got 4 touchdowns off the 11 catches, and 3 and 7 catches, but they've got massive yards per catch. So it's not as if they only find them in the red zone.
Right.
We've still got Brandon Cooks. So I think the way that targets are being utilised in the North is going to be really interesting. Probably tough for Chris. But yeah, despite another 21st best passing attack for yards a game, he's second in total scoring best CB. So it's going to be, hope there'll be a good few scores back and forth at least. On Chris' side and the Brown side, obviously, Nick Chubb's had a hell of a year. And you can see that in the Russian attack. Now, he's not got such a... He's managed to find 8 different touchdown scorers in passing touchdowns, which shows he must have a good bank of red zone plays at the very least. But all of his top yards reception, most reception yards overall, and highest number of receptions full stop was all with OBJ.
Yeah, I was going to say it'd be interesting to see whether it's through design with CB or he's been forced into that with a lack of quality in his receivers.
We'll find out. I mean, it's going to be.
It's a good start.
Yeah, turnovers are going to be massive. When they played in the regular season, CD won the turnover battle 2-0. So I think if Chris can
not lose his head.
Yeah.
We started off with a nice, decent 14-yard gain through the middle there. I think if we can establish a running game, that'll go half the battle.
He's got a great back to do it with, so just to set that early and not run away from it too early as we saw a bit last night.
Particularly when you're playing somebody like CB who can get turnovers.
Yeah, he's generated 21 more turnovers than Chris this year.
Yeah, so you want to be avoiding passing the ball wherever you can. I think we just had an echo of Chris there.
Yeah, I think we did.
That's good though. It means he can hear us and we can talk him through later in the game.
Well, given that you're the only one of us two that made the playoffs this year, you can do most of the coaching.
That's only because my backups schooled you.
Tell you what, if you go back to Matt Ryan after that Sandown performance, that's just Homer loyalty.
He's got to drag over the middle, you can see CB. Yeah. Covered deep, and that's what I really like. You don't have to go for a massive deep ball every time. If you can average 3 or 4, averaging 4 yards a play is going to be enough to get first downs.
And you want to be...
How's that not pass interference?
His player got knocked down there, the one he was staring down. That was unlucky. You can hear Chris's reaction in the background. Chris, you have to shut up because you're reading the commentary.
He's going to get his catches, so as they move forward defensively, got to continue to focus on not giving up the big play.
And that's a great... He's going to score, he's done it! There was some bad tackling from CB there, but that was set up by the blocks up front. And that's a perfect start for Chris.
Interesting, just fallen slightly behind you, so I refreshed this Twitch slightly, but just now watch the run and yeah, just perfect all the way through to be fair.
Following the touchdown, here's Seibert now to kick it off.
I think to beat CB, you basically have to stay on top throughout the game, so that's a great start. Chris wants to keep that lead as best he can. So holding him to 3 points or no points here would be ideal, obviously. But the good old bend and break.
Watson will bring up the Texans here, 1st and 10.
Yeah, I'm really interested to see what type of how this offense looks. I haven't played CB so far in this, and I thought Watson would be sort of, I don't want to speak too soon, but I would say probably sort of ideal QB I could see him working with. Who's like the bootleg and
yeah, I think I've not played him in this Madden either, but whenever I have played him, he likes agility. I think he likes the ability to change direction quickly with whoever's got the ball. But I do think actually that Chris has the right pieces in defense to try and slow that down.
Well, they feel like they have to go ahead and match because of what was already on the board against
first 2 plays went like Chris's way.
You just want to avoid 3 and outs.
Yeah, you can't say a better start than this for Chris, to be honest. It's interesting to see him use her on the line, but I guess he's just... And that is what he did not want. And I guess your research would have told him that the times that Coulter's in there, he's going for a big play. Hopefully Chris can adapt mid-game to that.
Well, I think minimizing the opportunities for it to happen is obviously the case that Stevie knows how to utilize that. But I suppose it's a 3rd and long. I don't know. It's just well worked, I suppose. But we'll be expecting something big
a deep
on
pass.
that play. Yeah.
And if you get, I think that this year that's definitely a tricky thing with using the D line. If you're going to do it, you basically have to be successful. Otherwise, you're going to leave gaps in the middle.
I mean, you can have the same if you run the zone coverage with the linebackers as well. I suppose get caught up on a runner and leave your zone. But yeah, if you further away you are from the line of scrimmage,
Fucking hell!
you've got.
Chris, you're ahead of the stream, Chris. We can hear you. Stop.
Tony Romo never gets his trouble, does he?
I know. Tell me about it. I'm liking Njoku over the middle here.
Yeah, definitely.
Boom.
Well designed. Doesn't take too long to get to the top of the road either. So exactly what we want to be doing there.
I'd be looking at Odell Beckham here and changing to a pass, but I think, as we said on the last drive, if the running game's working, that's perfect for Chris. CB needs to basically stop the running game to force him to pass, and then it brings into play his usering ability.
Yeah, exactly.
The more that Chris can just keep grinding out these 5-6 yard gains, the more he's just and he's also taking all the clock away as well, which gives less opportunity for somebody to overtake you.
The reality is that the way that well, if you base it on what happened so far this season, this Texans team can get away from you very quickly. So yeah, the less time on the clock, the less opportunity they've got to do that, because even if they are, it'll be difficult to keep to long drives themselves without putting points up. If you can limit the amount of drives they have, full stop, might be the way you want to go down.
Exactly, and that's kind of what Kadeem didn't do against Rory last night, and that's a great.
Oh, phenomenal!
I mean, Chubb is just unstoppable, isn't he? He's an absolute weapon. And CB's got to basically get a lot more players in the box. At the moment, he's defending both the run and pass, but if Chris can run it all day, then it could be a one-way victory.
I'd be concerned about, because even if you think you can keep up with it with quick passing touchdowns now, if you find yourself behind the fourth quarter and you haven't worked out a way of stopping the run, it's just demoralising the further you go into the game.
Yeah, and as you've already said, when somebody's doing that, the clock's going down, and it just if you're behind on a shrinking clock, that's the worst place to be.
Well, that's a positive rush, so.
It's psychological, so you get, like, for example, a 4-yard rush there, but you're instantly then thinking about, right, pass the ball, and just by chasing the game is never in your advantage.
Interesting to see actually what Root does go down to 2nd and 6, because he switched to.
If I know CB, I think he's passing. I do not know CB. He's probably listening and did that on purpose.
Quick switch.
See, so Chris has gone for a bear formation, pretty aggressive for a 3-yard. I would not be surprised to see a short pass from CB here in kind of a drag route. Something across the middle to one of his speedy slot receiver.
Yeah. Ooh, okay. I mean, it was a well-worked screen in the end, but it could have gone bad.
It could have backfired.
Yeah.
I think it's interesting with somebody like CB in a constant battle and trying to guess whether they're going to run or pass and try and leverage against it. I think of it as you kind of go, oh, and Watson broke free, and that's also a dynamic that we were talking about last night, where with Watson he has that extra dynamic, and it's something that Chris has got to look out for. But by forcing him to look out for it, that then opens up holes elsewhere. So the fact that he's thrown that rush in there, that helps the defense loosen up a bit.
There is an interesting sort of side note for that, though, in that the Texans, at the time of the research, were tied in our league for most fumbles. I don't know if there's a factor of Watson being on the run, but for a team that doesn't throw many picks in the passing game, that might be a way of generating turnovers if they do a better effort of bringing it down than that.
Yeah, so just like Rory last night, Chris is going to have to start putting in QB spies on the line in places. And that particularly works a bit better when it's a fast defensive lineman more than linebacker. But then you are losing a zone with that.
It'll come down to obviously user preference as well. Then of course you don't want to. He has a particular set of linebackers or defensive ends, or I think Brown's going to 4-3, so it'll be linebackers mostly. But if he's preferential users on his roster, is he going to sort of sacrifice to do that role? But
yeah, exactly. You're going to lose pass rush from somebody like Myles Garrett for it. But you do have to remember that by doing it, you do get some pass coverage from it as well, and it does balance. The CPU tends to balance quite well between running the ball and assuming that's given a touchdown up.
I think I'm now ahead of you on the stream, Mike, because I think the expletive came at exactly the moment I got through the end zone.
I think it's safe to say that he made the right decision. That was a heck of a run.
It certainly was, and when you mentioned the option, most people think the quarterback's not going to keep the ball. You know, the NFL, that's usually not the recipe for being around too long. So
almost don't want to guess who's going to be the first person to fail to score.
Exactly, and also again it comes back to the clock point. You know, if Chris now takes 3 minutes to go up and still get the score, then he's finishing the half up. And he needs to do that really, because he's going to be giving CB the ball in the second half. But if he scores too quickly,
big flag.
He's got to take that. He's got to take that in a tight game like this.
Of course, yeah.
I mean,
I suppose in a funny
sounded
way,
like a cow on the stream.
I mean, in a funny way, it sort of robbed him of the ability to clock as he moved up the field, but
nice.
Big penalty like that is just got to be done. Really well worked too. I didn't expect such an ambitious long pass like that to find to look like so much like it was going to work.
Oh, that was a perfect usering by CB, and he just couldn't make the tackle to bring him down. Then Kareem Hunt just runs him over.
Turn his legs for a really nice pickup.
A reminder coming up at the half, as we've done all year. We'll get you to Jonathan Coachman in Orlando.
Come on!
This Wildcard weekend as we begin on the
That's normally a fumble animation, that one, so he's gotten away with it.
5 at the 6-yard line. 5 yards is the tally on first down. That brings up 2nd and 5. They'll try to throw here.
B at the back, B at the back, and he's made it.
Was there.
Nice play, and as you say, he's got the points, which is what he wanted, but not ideal to give CB a minute and a half to get something back.
You just can't tear down such a great chance for points when it's offered to you, though, because you could have had a great drive, and like you say, he got away with a fumble animation potentially. That could have happened. Run by midfield, and then it's a disaster, you know. So.
Oh, get to fuck!
what's happening here.
And he's returned the kickoff. Which, again, flip side, at least you're getting the ball back, Chris. You know, you're getting a minute. It just looks like it's an absolute shootout at the moment.
And strangely, I don't think either's played bad defense. It's just been a case of, you know, really considered, well thought out offensive drive so far. I mean, obviously, and a special teams sort of mistake, I guess, there, but it's not been a case of.
With players scoring like this, it genuinely feels like whoever has the ball last is going to win this game. But I think Chris is going to give it a couple of plays to see how close he's going to get, and I don't think he's going to risk it if he doesn't get far enough up the field. Decent game. Decent game, sets him up. And he's got to be really careful here not to throw something like a pick six in pursuit of just getting a few extra points. He can't be greedy.
This
nice little drag route to Hooper would be perfect here.
With two timeouts, a minute and 18 is a long time.
Oh, is that? That's definitely holding or something, isn't it?
What?
I think that's going to be on the offensive line. Yep.
It's like art imitating life. Browns Raiders on the weekend.
Yeah, he needs some kind of out route that's going to get to the sideline, save some of his timeouts, but pick up a chunk of yards. I'd be considering
a minute and 10 if you run the ball like he has been. You know, one or two passes keep your defense honest, obviously, but two timeouts as well. I think you can get a fair distance in that time.
Texans using the timeout. Obviously, CB is confident he's going to get a stop here and wants to protect as much clock for him to go back as possible. Is this going to be the first? I think this could potentially be the first fourth down. We've not seen one yet, have we?
No.
Hooper across the middle looks like the most likely option. Chubb's wide open.
Yeah.
And he could go all the way. This is what CB didn't want. And one of my rare criticisms of CB is some of his tackling is a bit ropey. He tends to go for the all-out hit stick rather than more conservative. And you can see being dodged around there a couple of times. He could have stopped him a bit earlier.
In fact, this is in some ways going out of bounds here with less than a minute left is you know almost as good as scoring because you've still got a very high chance of coming away with points. And you know the chance of CB getting the ball back now, this half, has gone down dramatically. So
yeah, he's got a challenge here. I think he's got to work some of that clock off, not just score on the first drive. It'll be interesting to see if the Texans. Oh, Chris is taking the timeout. That's interesting. He'll save that last one for his field goal.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't have been panicking at that point the way it seemed like taking the timeout. Odell Beckham here on the out route to just get the first down, I think.
Yeah. Won't be looking.
And he's not out of bounds, but that's okay. That's okay. Maybe
one play and then if it doesn't work, then
it's a very. I wouldn't be trying to throw against CB in the short field either.
No.
This is where it's pick six territory, so that couldn't have gone better for Chris, to be honest. My only criticism could have been he could have taken another 10 seconds by not taking that field goal. But you know you're always risking it with that stuff. So as far as first halves go, you know you can't complain not from an offensive standpoint. And I think, like you said, it's not like he's been bad on defense.
No, I mean I think there's been positive signs against the run. Obviously, CB spotted an opportunity for a big passing play and took it, and you obviously have special teams touchdown as well. But you know, aside from that, I think it's I don't see player getting away from the other, but I think
Well, whoever gets a
certainly
stop, it's going to be massive, isn't it?
huge.
Interesting that Chris has gone for the defensive line again when somebody's wide open in the middle of the field. Right here, you don't want to be giving up a field goal and then giving CB the ball back. That'll, in theory, that could make it a 2-score game.
Yeah.
So you want to be protecting that over the middle and letting the computer do the pass rush.
Oh my god!
Coulter.
Yeah.
I mean, it's almost as if I spoke going before the game.
He's already shown what he was going to do with that on the last 3rd and long. And I think that there you've got to play a bit more cautiously if you're Chris on defense.
I think pointed out him sticking on the defensive line a couple of times now. He hasn't looked close to getting to Watson yet, so
No, exactly. I think, like I said earlier, I think if you do that, it's got to be successful. Particularly, I find that if you accidentally press the stick in whilst you're hitting the direction for whatever pass rush move you want to do, then that makes one of the defenders blitz the QB, whoever's nearest, in coverage, and it can leave massive holes just by a simple accident. And I think usering is the #1 game changer for ability on this game in my experience. That's what separates kind of average to the good players. And you can close down multiple routes with one player. And if you know they're going to pass, it's a risk to go D-line, unless it comes off. It's high risk, high reward.
be interested to know. I mean, again, having not watched a huge amount of and not played either of these yet this Madden, whether this is something Chris has adopted specifically for CB or if he's been playing on the D line consistently this season.
Well, I think given it's interesting he's chose Vernon a couple of times over Garrett, who probably has the ability.
And I suppose if you think Garrett's ability, he's gonna win out more often, and you can force it with Vernon, then.
Yeah, I think this is an interesting debate, and I think it's part of the debate that has been happening in the chat around pass rush and stuff like that. And I think Glenn said it best, where he said computer controlled Aaron Donald is a god, and CPU is no different to any other lineman. And I find the same with Grady Jarrett. If you're going to do D-line, you want to be controlling your best one, which is different to every other Madden before that, where you're right, like you want your best defender. Yeah, it's like usering. You probably want to use your worst defender, because then you're in control of what's happening. Whereas on D-line, I think it's the other way around. I think here, CB's going to play around with the run a little bit, but as soon as it gets to the third down point and he knows he's got a score to kind of stay ahead, we're going to see that bomb.
It depends on whether he sees the coverage he likes too, I think.
It's interesting because now it almost flips, right? Because in theory now CB's got the opportunity to take the lead. It's now up to him to sit and run the ball, control possession, control the clock. We haven't seen much of Watson scrambling, and therefore we haven't seen much of Chris have to spy him. That's an ace up CB sleeve right now, that even when a passing play breaks down, he's got the ability to potentially get the first down with Watson's legs.
It just feels as though the longer this drive is sustained, that without shying too far away from quite simple runs, really, CB can keep his offense on the field, and it's not We want to be for Chris now. 3rd and short. Everything's open to CB here.
I'm predicting a halfback screen. Oh,
Almost took a bad run in lane then, but bounced out around the defensive lineman. But
yeah, Chris is going to have to stop this running game. And this could be the look that CB wants, where he's got a 4-3 defense against his 3 wide receiver set. And it feels like at the moment that CB is almost toying with him. It doesn't look like Chris is getting close to stopping him or close to a turnover.
Just about every quarterback is trained to really look downfield first before you come back and make a nice save.
Oh,
And in this case, exactly what he did. Found his running back, let him create some space, and it turned
so
out
Chris
to be
thinks about your analysis, Tom.
2nd and 1, and people want to run the football.
And yeah, it'd be interesting to see if he changes user now if Vernon's out.
Exactly what we just saw there. Down.
He's been on red wine and now he's on Goodson at the moment, but
There you go. Does that count as me calling it?
it's a stretch, but I won't say anything if you don't. And the thing is, it's so much the 3rd quarter went on that drive as well.
Yeah. And now the pressure's on Chris. He knows now if he doesn't score here, his chance of winning the game are low. Which means, is he going to keep with what's working, which has been running, or is he going to start trying to pass the ball because he starts to get a bit more desperate? And that is where CB, like a boa constrictor, chokes people out of games, forces them to have to pass on him, and then that's when he gets his picks.
I mean, it's easy to say when it's not you in the game, but I find it hard to move away from Nick Chubb in any situation. But I think, again, I think it's all about now just not panicking and wait till you get the looks you like for that big shot. CB may not give them to you, but if that's the case, then if you're getting 5 yards of play as you did just then, that's fine. You know, like I say, you still don't want to leave CB too much time at the end anyway. Because you've got to be thinking it's going to be difficult to stop CB scoring again if he gets the opportunity.
That is some good blocking. These Browns are great blockers for the running back. I think you'd get 1,000 yards behind this line.
I have a decent rushing attack, I'll have you know, generally. I sure as hell don't have a passing attack, and that's that's the thing.
I meant you as the running back.
Oh right. No, well, no, I'd still be useless.
Oh, that was a great move. That was great from both sides. That was classic CB and great offensive play as well. Inches away from saying "I told you so." And then Chris can go back to the running game. It's interesting that CB keeps on crashing the line but not getting much luck with it.
I mean, that worked you, they still gained a yard from it. I think that what was so good about that play is you had two Browns running into a similar area of the field, so CB knew they could go to either.
Yeah.
So he was in a good position that he could just pick which one he fancied more. That was more questionable.
B. No. Oh, he's free. Austin Hooper, what a legend. It's a good move. I mean, look at those stats as well. 12 of 13. You know, Chris has been accurate. Don't know why there was a field goal animation there. Oh, because it's on 4th down. That's going to break Chris a little bit. He now knows he's got to stop him.
Yeah, would you been tempted to go for that there? It was 4th and 4, but
with the way things are going, yes. As a commissioner of the league, not wanting to seem like I go for things on 4th down. Not that that's ever bothered CB. It feels like Madden scripting has got to have a say in this. Somebody's got to get a turnover of some kind.
Well, after all the work I've done on turnovers, if there isn't one in this game, but
At least Chris knows he's basically going to face a rushing attack now. He's still not putting in any kind of QB spy.
oh,
There you go. A great move. And CB shouldn't be tempted into throwing here. He should be, even with the 4-point lead. He should be trying to wind out as much clock as he can.
there's no need to force the issue here.
No, your defense has made a good stop. It's proved itself. And you know a field goal's not going to be enough, so he's going to be going for it. And that's exactly what CV wants from the situation. So the last thing he wants to do here is try and force it too much and try to do it himself, or go 3 and out, or do that.
I mean, shows what we know. That would. I don't know if he's got the heart and the stomach for that. At that kind of risk and position he was in. But that's why he's in the playoffs, I guess.
You've got to feel like that's game over now, unfortunately for Chris.
Time's against him, but to be honest, I wouldn't have been surprised to see CB scoring again anyway. Chris had to go for it. I suppose now it's the fact that he knows he's not going to get a stop on CB, and he's going to have to probably 2 touchdowns as a minimum probably from here.
Well, if he gets a 2-point conversion, he can get the field goal to tie. But yeah, he wants 2 touchdowns, doesn't he? And maybe a onside kick in the middle so that he doesn't have to defend anything. And there's the turnover we're waiting for. And the second one. double fumble.
I mean,
this has got CB pick written all over it. Let's try. The one thing I would say is he doesn't have to get 27 yards in one go.
No,
that's the temptation.
Not.
That OBJ yeet. Oh, nice.
Phenomenal.
That's giving him hope, but it's the hope that kills you. I mean, would you be celebrating like OBJ then if you were in this situation as a player?
OBJ can do what he wants, frankly. Oh my god.
It's great that we know that something stupid is coming up in advance.
The thing is, though, is that I think Chris's reactions now, he's the 4th quarter play in this game, I'm expecting to be much more disastrous than it actually is.
Yeah. Njoku out.
I think. Why?
Njoku. Oh. I mean, yeah, okay. That's what worked. Njoku was there wide open and could have got out of bounds for you.
A gain there of 21 yards. So a 1st and 10 now in Houston territory.
They're coming for him. Oh. Things are just not going for him, are they?
No. It stops the clock, though, so...
Yeah, he needs to think about the clock. I'd be going for some out routes and things around the sideline. That flood swap looks like the right play.
I suppose the really difficult thing...
Higgins to the outside.
It's defying your expectations here, Tom. I think the thing that would be worrying me if I was Chris now is, regardless of what happens on this drive, is the prospect of having to beat TV go 3 and out.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it'll be interesting to see if he does score, if he goes for the onside kick. But again, he's got the out to Higgins again, so he's changed it. Oh, nice move. Those he's slippery like an eel. Yeah, he has to go for 2 here. I'd be thinking about running the ball given how well that's worked for most of the game. He's only got to get 2 yards.
On 2-point conversions, I don't like running the ball generally, but
When you've got Nick Chubb as your running back, it's a bit different though.
yeah, I had Shady McCoy, so it's not quite the same. Again, you have to feel that it's the bigger task now is whatever Chris has done wrong here.
I'm waiting for things now.
Yeah,
Like a preview.
I just hope it's in relation to the game of Madden and there's nothing else going on instead of...
Maybe this is why Tony Romo is such a mind reader, because he gets told what's going to happen. Oh, that could have been a game-changing pick. That.
And both times that CB's run that screen, it's looked ropey and he's got away with it both times. Just such a fine margin.
Oh, he was lucky there was a second player there to take him down. That's exactly what he wanted. He's now got a 17-yard buffer.
Yeah, but you don't want to get too soft here because
of that, whatever that was.
Well, how's he held on to that in all seriousness? But I feel Chris is paying a little bit. I mean, brave again by CB, but
yeah, the only thing I think he could have been a bit closer from a user perspective. But maybe
yeah,
it's
no, you definitely could. But I mean, this is why you don't want to go too soft, even if it's 2nd and 17, because you're banking on worst case scenario holding CB to a field goal.
Yeah.
So tense. I feel like there's a lot more talking in the game yesterday because it was there wasn't so much tension on the edge of my seat.
Well, he stopped him. He's got to stop him now for the 2-minute warning. Otherwise, it's game over. So it comes down to this first down. He's got 1 play.
Oh, where's he going?
And CB has. That is the CB bottle. He had wide open players.
Yeah.
He had 2 or 3 wide open players. And he's given him a 2-minute chance. This is the definition of clutch, if he can pull this off. He didn't even pick that up. This is it. His season's on the line here for Chris.
That was so uncharacteristic of CB in this game. I was like, I think it got to the point some of the receivers were so wide open I wasn't even pointing them out. I just assumed he was, and then I saw Watson just running around the back and I even stopped watching him. Just looking to think.
Oh, see, this is
where pass interference. I think that was.
This is where Chris is trying to get it all in one go. He doesn't need to. He had his running back there ready to run out and stop the clock. A few seconds, made 10 yards. Just keep it moving. Two minutes is a lifetime
really
in the
like
NFL.
you, but maybe not for this situation because you're going to stay in bounds.
Exactly, and he's got no timeouts. He needs out routes to the sideline. A button. Because he's cycled through his down so quickly. This is it. He's been left with 5 yards now for the game. He's got to get to the sideline. I'd be changing my routes to an out.
I think we know what's happened here.
Well, Landry was wide open there and would have got it.
I mean,
that was just anti-clutch decision making. I think that wasn't even user play, was it? Oh, it was a little bit.
It's amazing how got to this late in the fourth quarter, and then we had that kind of decision making from both CB and now Chris, ignoring wide open receivers.
It's the pressure of the playoffs.
I wouldn't know. Next season, next season. But no, this has been a really fascinating, entertaining game. Expected lots of points.
I didn't expect this many points. CB's got to feel lucky.
Yeah, definitely. I think Chris was in a really hard division. I worked it out that the AFC North, combine all the teams, there were 37 wins in that division compared to only 34 in CB's AFC South, which, okay, it's 3 wins, but over a 16-game season, I still think that shows what a tough division he was in. And he was close here. I think it did come down to decision making in the end. Okay, CB gave him the opportunity, which he needn't have, I suppose. But there was not a lot in that.
No, I think that was a good display from both teams. I think that definitely somebody like Raisky will have watched that stream and have a few notes on CB for things he can take advantage of.
I've just seen Chris's message into the chat. Hello, darkness.
I mean, no matter how much you prepare yourself for it, I think it's the hope that kills you. The fact that he had that opportunity at that final drive.
And he was definitely overthinking it at that moment then. I said it in the second quarter as well, when it was 1 minute 40. That's a long time. If you can stop the clock by getting out of bounds, it's still a long time. The ball switched hands so many times in that second quarter. That's exactly what it could have done again in the fourth. But hey, look, at the end of the day, CB did enough, and he always looked like he had the potential to score quick with big plays at any point, really. So
that sets up inter-division rivalry.
Oh, kill me.
Well played, Chris. Good game.
I'm honestly actually devastated that last pick. Fuck. Oh.
Yeah, some decision making right at the end there.
Yeah, 2 routes. I thought, fuck it, go for the one that's going to get me more yards. And then I thought I would get it over him, but clearly not.
Can you still hear Tom? I don't know if we've lost him.
No, I can't hear Tom.
Either everyone can hear Tom. we're the ones that.
No, I can. Yeah, I can hear you fine, but I can't hear Tio.
He's dropped out now.
Yeah. Anyway, cheers for that. I'll listen back later on. But everybody seemed to enjoy it, so thanks very much. And yeah.
I really enjoyed it. I'm sorry I can't do any more tonight.
No, it's alright.
I'll be happy to do more in the future. I really enjoyed
that. No, that is fine. I think we've got I don't think there is another game tonight unless CB's organised his one. Rory and Raisky are going tomorrow. TO is tonight, and Apone is doing that with SC.
Right, okay.
I can't remember what other game has been scheduled. Cardinals Seahawks, which is going to be Brent and TO.
Right, okay.
So yeah, just waiting on the Raisky Rory one, which I think, will be tomorrow, I think, by the sounds of it. Just don't know what time yet. So yeah, no, just give me a shout. I'll keep posting in the chat. So, but no.